it's your boy Dustin from the Flying Chairs, the Rise podcast. And today, oh shit, you won't believe it, I got Cy Wynn back with me for the second time. And I'm just super excited to talk with her because she's been on an adventure traveling and going to some of these ancient sites. And yeah, we're just going to dive deep into that. So, hey, Cy, what's new? How you been?
Hi, I've been great. How are you?
I'm doing good.
Good. I love your intros.
Well,
They've
very enthusiastic.
I love them. It's great. I love it.
um, yeah, no, how was your holiday?
Good. Really
Yeah,
good.
good.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's been beautiful. It's actually doesn't feel like Christmas at all. It's really warm here. So,
Yeah, I was gonna say, yeah, it rarely snows if it ever does in
yeah.
Arizona. But
Yeah.
that's so cool. Yeah, when you tell me what you've been doing traveling. You've been, I think you were talking about Mexico, and I think you said something about California. Am I right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Go
well,
ahead.
actually, there's quite a lot even upcoming too. And it's, as you know, with the energies and everything that's going on with the earth and our accelerations, I've been traveling a lot with offering sound activations
Oh,
with certain frequencies, for people that are, group activations, but also for the earth as the earth is changing, like physically changing. There's so much that's happening with that. And so there's a lot of travel that I've been doing that is, configurations of geometry through different places where I'll weave between where I live, and then I'll go. I was just in Mexico for a few weeks, different sacred sites to pyramid sites, but then bringing that information back, the frequencies back into
oh, cool.
Arizona, which is all connected to, the different star systems and also Egypt and many,
Yeah.
many other pyramidal sites. And from there, after Mexico, I was home for about probably like a week. And then I went to New York, which is on a
Oh,
whole
okay.
different water body, on the Atlantic side. And you want to look at sacred geometry of traveling, the energy is vastly different, but so many different changes happening there from there going almost directly across to San Francisco area,
Oh,
working again with frequencies, energies, but also the land. So it's literally like these different configurations of patterns through the earth changes and offering sound activations, which are new frequencies, you could say in a way, new, higher octave frequencies so that people can continue to upgrade and accelerate through these group, sound activations and also parallel with the earth, anchoring
yes.
those energies in the earth. So it's been a lot of that weaving, anchoring, working, wielding, on all the layers, on all the planes, through all the sites and, all the dimensions. But also, like upcoming, there's quite a lot travel coming up too, because so much is transforming.
Yes. And then it's really interesting. We had this interstellar comet that came really close to Earth, and I think a lot of changes happened during that time. Because I've talked to other star seeds and other things that, and no, maybe this was your journey too in the whole of this whole asteroid coming towards Earth. Um, and I heard the Hopi talk about this prophecy of this interstellar blue star, and that's what this was, like so it made it kind of like more eerie. It's like something is amongst us now, like something is gonna pop, maybe something more. I don't know. It's there. I feel it.
Yeah, well, the energies are open to so much more travel too. So,
Yes.
I mean, I can look up here, and I'm currently in Arizona now, but I
Mhm.
can literally look up in the sky and physically see more frequently, ships and travel and things like that, that you could see that before
Mhm.
here, with the energies and how open things are, but it's so much more prevalent. And some of these things that people are seeing, say they're thinking it's a comet or whatever it is. There's a lot of ship travel that may be misperceived or perceived different ways. That, of course, it has different frequencies with it. With depending on what it, what, where, who, why, all the things, right?
Right.
So, and what it is doing is that where you can feel it, you can feel the frequency shift, you can feel the energy change. And interestingly enough, as you're saying that, when I was at the airport, I was in Oakland, California, and it was during the solar flares that
Yes. Yeah. Hmm.
that was just first, I think it was first week of December.
Hmm.
And I felt like because the energy was so powerful, I was sitting at the ocean edge at the window
Wow.
waiting for, waiting to get on board, right? And so, but I was looking at the sun and the energy was so drastically shifting through the solar flares and the ocean and everything else that was going on that I felt like I shot up into the sun,
Oh my
like
God.
energetically, and I
Right.
could feel the whole earth shaking. And I got back home, I think it was about 6 hour with the time difference and things, but I got, back home situated, driven, all the things. And there was this massive amount of earthquakes there, and it was like do 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 do. But I could feel that trigger, that power, that all these different alignments, all of these alignments, everything that's been going on. And I think there was something in Japan happened at the same time, and everything is interconnected. So
Yes.
the pyramid, the underground, underwater pyramid, pyramidal networks, all the
Hmm.
lines, all the volcanic lines, especially on the coast, and how they align with the Ring of Fire, which goes all the way into Japan and comes around. We look
Right.
at, yeah, we look at the interconnectivity of that, the Earth core, temperature rising, raising, parallel to all the ships arriving, traveling through interdimensional travels, the alignments of these portals and you might say tunneling systems, everything is shifting
Yeah.
and changing, star system shifting, changing, location, everything is changing. So it's literally to not feel it is impossible of the magnitude the magnitude of what we're experiencing, right? The energy shift or people opening up, you can see it and feel it in people too, that
Yeah.
even if they maybe previous haven't, now they are, now they're able to feel that opening for them to choose differently.
I was gonna say, I was gonna ask you too if the spots that you went to, do they lay on ley lines? Because I know those are powerful. Some of those spots where some of them are intersecting the ley lines. They're just like, so yeah.
Yes.
I was curious. Maybe some of the spots in Mexico, I'm sure they have tons of ley lines. So the purpose of those pyramids being there in the first place, because these people actually knew where these energies to harness the energies, and that's why they think some of the ancient pyramids in Egypt were like the ones that are like machines that kind of harness the energy. I don't know if they used there's like I don't know if they use the water from the Nile underneath the pyramids to make like a pulsating vibration underneath. I heard all the crazy theories of like why it's a machine and where they're laid out in general. They're on ley lines. So yeah, I think it's very important.
Well, I mean, the geometry of everything and the configuration is entirely important for the precision because it's aligned to different star systems and constellations, and the way that these structures, many of them anyways, that they were built were to do just that, to be, say it's a temple, but it's also a stargate, where
Mm.
you travel through, and that alignment lines up to other stargates where instead of getting on a bus or a plane, you just go boom, boom, boom,
Boom, boom. Yeah.
and you go, right? And
Hmm.
and some of these places or interdimensional locations were closed or still are to some degree closed, that are opening, reopening, or adjusting, changing position or location because everything is, everything is changing and transforming, even volcanoes, the
Hmm.
alignment of all the volcanoes, the lava, the lava canals, which go underground through the core, how those connect. When something erupts, that changes everything,
Well,
that
yeah,
shifts
that's
the
true.
plates. So we can look at, like, say, for example, a really powerful line in San Francisco, that plate and the plate tectonics, the plates are shifting, which is moving these lines. It's changing the alignment of things as even out into space is changing. But each place has its own distinct alignment, and then the alignment within, the inner earth structures, the
Yes.
alignment to the other alignments that are shifting and changing, everything that's going on underground that people are discovering too with tunneling systems,
So let's
man-made
touch
or
upon the
otherwise.
hollow earth. Well, won't we? Do you believe in the hollow earth?
Um, do I get into it? I know there's
Or
a
do
lot
you?
of perspectives of
Sure.
it. Yeah,
Hmm.
it's interesting some of the perspectives. I don't necessarily agree with some of them, but
Yeah,
I
I know,
mean,
like the Tibetans monks talk about the hollow earth and other Nordic places. And then there's the famous case of Admiral Byrd, who's one of the famous explorers and that flew first guy to fly over the North Pole. But he had a diary on his deathbed, and he released it right before he died, and it was about the truth of what he saw going over the North Pole. And there was a giant hole, and there was actually green grass and trees, and then he saw mammoths and shit, and he's like, "What the fuck?" So he actually got closer down to it, and he saw UFOs come out, and actually had a tractor beam hit his ship or no, hit his plane, and a tractor beam comes down into the hollow earth into his like a crystal city made of like crystals and glass and shit. Beautiful. And then these people are like 10 feet tall, humans at that. And they're telling Animal Bird that to send a message to the people up top to stop using nuclear bombs because they were testing bombs during the time that Animal Bird was going over the North Pole. So it was disrupting their world because the earthquakes and other shit. So Animal Bird went back and told his government that he interacted with some extraterrestrials that lived in the inner Earth, said that they didn't like all the nuclear bombs that we were doing up top testing. It was disrupting their world. Very interesting, you know?
it
And it's just,
is.
you know,
Yeah.
to hear that story, oh my God.
I'm
So,
not I'm not familiar with that, but I can feel like the reference because I do feel a lot of these inner earth civilizations or cities. I
mhm,
can feel the energies and the beings that are there that are wanting to some extent, depending on with who, but connect, connect with people and share wisdom to co-create, and um, weave together really because we're all guardians of this planet, but they've been within the earth because, I mean, for a lot of reasons, but because the conscious awareness fell in a way, the frequency fell to where people weren't doing things correctly. For example,
yeah.
nuclear stuff, and all kinds of other things that weren't as stewards or caretaking. But now is much different. We have more presence. We have constant presence. There's different many different civilizations that a lot of people don't even know
Don't
about
even know. It's-
out into space, beyond even what you're right, could be beyond humanoid, where they'd go, what is this? But this is your relative too, right? So it's like all these
Mhm.
different connections of we look at unity consciousness, but unity through space and time to come through and co-create together, like all these different people, beings, energies, systems, cities, everything is interconnected, and it's all in its own way shaking and quaking open to come back into communication and remembrance of like
Mhm.
we're here too. Yeah,
Yeah.
we went in. I think a lot of times people look out, they're looking out into space, but many of these civilizations are in,
And
coming
you're
from
you're in the
within.
right state for having those legends be true. The Hopi talk about the ant people that once helped them twice after two cataclysms on Earth. One with fire, if it was a big sun flare, or if it was a comet, and there was the Ice Age. But again, the Kachina were the ones that introduced them to the ant people, and they had the subterranean cities and taught the Hopi how to agriculture and have grow vegetables indoors, basically. And it's just like, and I guess the extraterrestrials gave them a lot of their food because they can. That's one reason why they call them ant people because they thought they were so skinny after not eating anything for other people to eat. But again, very generous, working with the people. And the very interesting thing is in the Hopi language, Anu. is ant, and then Naki is friend. So Anunnaki in this and ancient Sumeria kind of
Right.
collections there.
Right.
I don't know.
Just a little. Well, you know, it's I'm glad you brought that up actually because what has been really prominent lately and even in these trips, especially at those sacred sites, is cosmic forgiveness. And what I mean by that is resolving and clearing, you know, we've all been clearing in our own ways on our, you know, our lives, past lives, parallel lives, all the things, right? Our personal lives. But what's so important to come really in true unity, like out into the vast abyss of space, is to resolve, cosmically forgive. And especially, we look at the Anunnaki, that's a big one. That's huge of what, you know, that energy that had been imprinted for so long of even misperception. You know, there's a lot of different storylines that to come into clarity and dissolution, that was a huge actually echo through Mexico. And what was interesting is before going to Mexico, I was in Arizona, right? So
Mhm.
I live within the Ant Hills. Like this
Yeah,
is
that's the
literally
Hopi land right there.
yeah, it's Hopi land, and then literally I look out in my backyard, and the cliff dwellings are looking at me, and
That's
so is
so cool.
everyone
I'm so
inside.
jealous. You just see that just to see the ancient artwork on stones, you know what I'm saying? And it takes a
Yeah,
lot to like put those images on the stone. People don't realize that. Like the simple tools that they had, I mean, it took a lot of fucking work. And then they're really good. And like they're really I don't know, very astronaut-like. I love the part. That's the best part about them.
well, there's so much to be yet even discovered. We look at with the within, right? With, you know,
Yes.
artifacts and things like that. But within those codes and the information that's engraved, we could look at the symbols. But there's so much information, which is energy. Energy is information of what it's saying. It's trying to tell us as we could say decode, but not really. We just can feel the energy of like, whoa, what is this saying? Or what is this feeling? How sacred is this to remind me that everything is sacred? Because really, I mean, everywhere is. You don't, you know, we could say it's a sacred site, but everything has energy and information. And there's actually like filled with petroglyphs through the whole state and many other places too. You know, Idaho that I've been, petroglyphs, you know, caves, underground cities, crystal cities, civilizations, you know, interstellar gateways. They're all over if we really pay
Let's say
attention.
there's a lot
Yeah,
of hieroglyphics of the portals everywhere on Earth. Like they have the same symbol, and yeah, it could be a way of connecting with the gods. Um, that's so cool. You ever seen that? I don't know where this was located. If it was in America, it's the thing called the portal. It was like this thing that they made for, say, there's one in Japan and then there's one in California somewhere. There's just a big, it looks like a Stargate, but it's like a screen, but it sees real time, like what's going on. I guess they had to remove it because some girl was like flashing the camera all the time, you know, it's getting free. Feel this having sex up on the in public. But yeah, no, it's really it was kind of a cool idea to see like other people in real time and then on the other side of different, you know, on the other side of the planet. It's just that's awesome. Yeah,
yeah.
cool idea.
Well, well, and I'm glad you brought that up too, because really what's happening with all these other things that are going on with transforming, right? With
Hmm.
remembering is that we're also each able to do this where we go from place to place, right? Where we can go from, say it's a Stargate or it's a system or it's a portal, or we, you know, teleport, biolocate, telepathy, all these innate faculties we have, move objects with our minds, you know,
Yes.
you know, create a
Have you,
frequency and
mhm.
and open something, you know, or
I've seen
close
some
it.
of those impressive videos of especially the old stuff, like from the 1940s. There's a woman from Russia that's really popular with telekinesis, and they would like put like a glass dome over those matches, and she'd just be like, and then the matches be like, you know, and she's like bending spoons, and that's so cool. And there's a guy that I interviewed from Germany, and he does demonstrations of ectoplasm and other spiritual shit, and it's gnarly. It's probably the best footage I ever seen of ectoplasm where and he's surrounded by people. So he's not doing any trickery besides, other people can and actually people he let people touch the goddamn thing that's coming out of his mouth. But it's just yeah, it'd be like this he just gets in a trance where these other people are getting in the trance too and yeah, the ectoplasm comes out of his nose and mouth and goes dripping all the way down to the ground and actually it would move around like a snake and shit. And it's
I don't think I'm familiar with that.
oh, ectoplasm?
Yeah,
It's like
I'm
the
not.
spiritual form coming almost like physical, but it's like almost kind of like a wet. I don't know. It's like ghostly. People say that they touch it, it's cold and wet when it's
Well, I'm
moving around.
wondering if it's like plasma. You're just ectoplasm.
Yeah, you should.
Feel like
I
plasma.
can maybe send you a video of his if you like. It's really
Okay.
interesting. Yeah. Well, the
Yeah.
fact that you're seeing other, it'd be different if he was just standing by himself and it could be some kind of trickery. But you have all these. He's got a follower. He's kind of like not like a cult, but like enough where you have these people who see with their own two eyes that this guy is claiming to have these spirits that are coming and using him as a tool. He's and you should hear how he speaks. He talks like a mystic, like very like he should like lived in the probably the 16th century or some shit. But yeah, it's really interesting. I love meeting people that are just interesting claims and like I love that paranormal, the physical paranormal. Like I love to see it with my own eyes and to feel it um and yeah, the energy it brings. And it says like he doesn't do it. Other people who come to this session bring their energy and powers to go through him as a tool where this ghost and shit comes flying through him and pouring out of his mouth and nose.
I don't
It's very interesting.
I don't either, but you know what I do know and I know and I don't really like, look into like a lot of these different storylines and things,
Sure.
but what I do know is that people are gonna, through these layers of revealing in a way, but seeing these things in the physical, right? Seeing a ship or seeing seeing and feeling, a solar flare or, volcano
Hmm.
in the lava and say other beings or other things that are moving or watch their own self think a thought and something moves on the table with great focus. But
Hmm.
these physical, actual physical things that some people need in their mind, need to see
Oh yeah.
or see and feel to believe. And a lot of this is happening obviously more and more and more because it's always been so. All these different things have always been potentials and infinite potentials to create, or move objects, open objects, shift, change, build, build with thought, and all it just all with thought, all the things possible. But what is exciting too, even some of the, in a way, some of the goofy stuff where you're like, what is even that? But it's
Yeah,
still
sure.
showing people in their own way that, hey, you can turn on your own light too, and you can figure out how to wield with what energies you already have within you. You don't need to go anywhere to go get tools. You have all the
Mhm.
tools, you just need to focus. What is it are you creating and why and what is it for? And you'll discover many things. So it's exciting in that way, or you'll see many things, so you'll see, um, and I noticed this the other day as a side note with where I live that sometimes I walk and it's dark really early and I like to look at the stars. But
Mhm.
I was walking, I felt this really interesting sensation. We'll
Mhm.
say
Oh
it that way. Like
yeah.
I was like where I felt like all my skin went like this, and I was like, oh,
Oh.
there's energy here, right? But I looked, I just looked, and even with the perception that I had before tuning into what was I feeling,
Hmm.
there was this like in a way blurry, but there was this energy that moved across the road like this,
Oh shit.
and it was like it wasn't really humanoid, right, at all. And
Right.
so it was this shape of this energy, and it was big, bigger than me. And I was like, whoa, but it wasn't like, doing anything. It was aware I was there. I was aware it was there, but it was just like this coexistence. But that's going to be and is more prominent now. Because as
Yes.
soon as I felt that, and it was kind of like this nod acknowledgement, like, oh yeah, okay, we see each other. Not, no exchange needed
Mhm.
necessarily. There was another one, similar energy, and it was just like, well, their travel pathway through those gateways right there, because there's a lot of portals and openings and things just right here.
Yeah.
And so, but we're going to see and feel that a lot more if we haven't already, or orbs and things show up on photos, or, looking up at the stars and all of a sudden seeing something bleep in and out, to remind
Yes.
us that there's a lot more that we're going to discover. We can co-create with, we can connect with, and we're all related. We're all
Right.
related. And I think that's one of the things that's really important too right now is that there's some, in a way, stigma. Like, I don't know if stigma is the correct word, but like with things that are different.
Hmm.
And there's a lot of these relative star nations that are not humanoid, right? And they want to connect with people, but they don't want them to be afraid. So,
Funny
and
you said that. It's funny you
yeah,
said
and
that.
it's
Wait,
so,
uh,
yeah.
sorry,
Go
I was
ahead.
gonna say, have you seen the new Spielberg's new movie that's coming out? That's called Disclosure Now.
I heard somebody talking about it, but I haven't seen it
Okay,
though.
yeah, I think it's how I view the movie. It's how the story is gonna be coming out. I think it's the awakening of people of like disclosure coming out where they are walking amongst us, and it's just kind of like starting to pop. Where even like nature itself, like deers and birds, are tuned in. It's like we're all kind of like all shifting our heads towards this new awakening of yes, we've been here. We could shape shift into other humans. It's so I'm like, oh man, 'cause Spielberg does his homework. I'm pretty sure he talked to some whistleblowers. You know what I'm saying?
I would
So
imagine so.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm grateful for that, even if, it's to some extent, theatrical, but it is because
Mhm.
we are really so vast.
Yes.
And if we look at, even you were talking about the deer, right? The
Hmm.
species. Look at the whales. They're from another star system. Bees are
Yeah.
from another star system, planetary systems, all these different planetary systems. And stars, many of these seeded races, we're calling them animals or mammals or bugs or insects. They're actually, so we've been among all
Like in
these different,
India, India has
yeah,
tons of guys that are animals.
right. All kinds of different races that have been here. And I actually recently was feeling all these different water energies that are, in a way, you want to use the word hybrid, which I don't really necessarily feel that's quite correct. It might be
Hmm.
like a genetic modification or a blend for a certain specific function, right? Or
Right.
functions, reasons why. But there's these other beings that are arriving or have already arrived that have different genetics that are crosses between modifications for specific frequencies through these changes that are coming now. And that's what some of these gateway changes in the waters and the sky, in space, however you want to say it, the cosmos, the interstellar gateways, is that physically now, not just energetically, and to some extent, there's been physical arrivals, over
Oh yeah,
time,
sure.
but more prevalent, physically
Yes.
arriving is different,
Yeah.
different
Oh yeah, way
races,
different.
like way different. Yeah, way
It's gonna
different.
be changing everybody's mind right there and
Yeah.
then.
Yeah, and there's no like we're gonna give you like how for how long has it been these warnings like kids clean your room and
Yeah.
kids clean your room, right? Kids clean your room and they don't.
No, yeah, yeah.
And that's kind of like this last 5 years in a way. Is this my perception of a metaphor? Is that
Sure,
the
sure.
last 5 years has been like, no, you have to purify, you have to cleanse, you have to get in your right order because everybody else is on their way and they're coming, ready or not. Here we come, you know,
Yep.
and they are for great reasons. So there's no more like warnings like you have to clean your room by Friday. It's literally like we're all coming
Yeah.
together now.
Yep.
So who's coming together is coming. And if you're not coming, then it's time to go. You know,
Get the
basically,
hell out of here.
right? You know, like because that's the next step, right? That's our
Yeah.
next step. So
Yeah, it makes you wonder if like the hardcore religious folk would just start jumping off the rooftops. You know, it's like, what? I've been lied to.
you
That's it.
never know. You never know,
Or
right?
maybe,
How
yeah, you're
good.
right. I'm just saying, like, maybe they'll spin it easier for those people to swallow. Maybe they just come into like turn into Jesus in front of them.
Right. Well, and this like you want to say gateways, but these different systems or these, you know, ships or, you know, people are calling comets or ships or, you know, there's all the different variation of stories and that's fine. But basically what we're looking at is different frequencies from different planes or different dimensional octaves. What it's bringing in the proximity is pure tone energy that is assisting those catalyzing moments, you know,
Mm,
that people can really choose to whatever the story was or whatever they've been going through, whatever the dogma they're in, that if it's not working, they can open their mind to something else, you know, so
yes.
a different way or what's actually meant for them, which could be completely, usually is completely different than
No,
what they've been
and I love the
doing, right?
open-minded people and like the free will of like choosing to open your eyes instead of being so narrow-minded and this is how it is and it's how it's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? It's not clean cut like that. Again, Earth is the Disneyland of the galaxy. There's just so much shit that is popping off here, and then there's like a big beacon out there. It's like, hey, come here. And there's a federation. You might have to sign some shit so you're gonna do something crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, there's all, I mean, everything is recorded, right? So even these thoughts that people are having or these things
Yes.
that they're doing is recorded. So there is, even in what is perceiving to be unfolding, say something's falling apart, you know,
Hmm.
collapsing, reconfiguring, there still is a divine order to everything, you know, coming together, falling apart, moving away, you know, showing itself and the alignment of how it is or when it is, even if it bleeps in onto a radar, shows up, you know, kind of just shocks people to an extent open to perceive something differently, whatever in whatever way they're ready to. That undulation to start to open their field to a different way or a bigger perception is helping to get to their next now, you know, which is whatever they're capable to do, be.
Yeah. Oh,
So,
I wanted to bring it back and like because you said you're continuing this journey and there's other places you're gonna visit. Can you share some of those places you're gonna go next?
oh, sure.
Yeah.
Well, I'm actually I'm looking at the date.
Yeah.
I don't know when this will air, but I have
I'll
three.
air it tonight or tomorrow.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
There's three upcoming conferences. There's two that are in California.
Oh, cool.
The one is Los Angeles, but from Los Angeles it'll be Florida, Hawaii, um, no, I need to remember. Then it's San Rafael, then it's back to Hawaii, but in
Cool.
between it'll be Arizona. So it's like this triangular pathway in a way, but also geometries in between.
Oh,
And
sweet.
that's just the next 3 months, you know.
Wow.
So um, everything is so accelerated that when something is aligned and aligning and the opportunity is presenting itself and I can feel the energy and what to whatever extent I can, like what is this about? Yes, there'll be sound, group audience activations, you know, exhibitions at the conferences, but it's also about what is the land asking for? What are the people they're ready for? What is actually being transmitted there? What are people open to receive? How is this on the bigger picture, grander scale, effecting and affecting the whole? Through the travel pathways, because we look at that too is when I go somewhere and have those experiences, I'm also bringing energies back with me and anchoring in them where I am,
That's
even if
so
it's
cool.
north. yeah, 3, 4 days, it is that, and it's weaving, anchoring, especially the Arizona point with all of the ancient connectivity to
Yeah.
Egypt, Mexico, the pyramids, the underwater, the core, Orion's Nebula, Orion, Pleiades,
Yes.
the beyond, 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 right? All the connections, Milky Way. I mean, I can see the Milky Way over the house and everything that's happening with that, and so each place, each visitation and everything that unfolds there is also bringing and bridging and anchoring that into all the connections from this point, which is right next to an emergence place. You talk about the Hopi and the
Yes.
and the ancient ones and all of the, I mean, the all the indigenous people
Hmm.
is right in this location where the in and down is right here. And the energy, every time I go, I walk and I wield there. Twice a day I go
Oh,
there.
wow.
And
Cool.
it's to do that specifically with, not just songs and sounds and tones, but to bridge and anchor all that I've ever experienced and where I've been working and working through into these places, into the earth, because the earth isn't what it appears to be. It's actually crystalline, celestial being. So there's a vast quantity beyond what we know or what many people know it to be that we're residing on and within, and all these crystal cities within it. So I'm always experiencing that when a position, you want to say, or a presentation of something comes to me, of an opportunity to go somewhere. I'm like, well, what is this
Mhm.
about, and how does this correlate to what's unfolding here?
Sure.
Especially this gateway of 2026. Not that it's linear, but we look at 2026 as like in a few days, right?
Hmm.
So this time between now and the next like year or two, but really up until we could say 2030, but this whole transitionary time of no time that is unfolding, everything is so accelerated. What's happening will continue to accelerate. So what we think we know right now by in the morning could be completely different. So to honor that, to honor that when we're experiencing that, there's no small moment when we're out upon the earth.
Hmm.
So it'll be interesting to see what happens the next few months with those trips.
That is super exciting. Hawaii? Oh my God. It's gonna be some good
Yeah.
weather
Oh
there.
yeah, it's well, and what if we look at, I was talking about the Pacific Ring of Fire. I don't know if you're familiar with that at
Oh
all.
no. No, tell me.
Well, we look at the plates, right? They call it the Pacific Ring of Fire because there's a Pacific Ocean.
Yeah.
And the ring comes up and around, but everything, the interconnection of everything, there's the coastline. We look at the West Coast, like
Hmm.
California, Oregon, Washington,
Yeah.
goes up to Alaska, goes up and around, if you're just looking at a generalized map, not to get real specific, we get into where Japan is, but where is it right in the center of all of that, in the water of this ridge, they call
Hmm.
it the Ring of Fire, is
Okay.
Hawaii. It's right in the middle.
Oh, okay.
So, and everything is completely central right in the middle to something. So the interconnection of how
That's
that,
so cool.
yeah, undulates through these next
Hmm.
juncture points. We'll see. But it's going to be pretty massive. I think what's going to unfold in this next so-called year, we say that 2026 is another series of constant gateways. Everything is a gateway, really. We can
Yeah.
talk about like, the moon alignment or the eclipse alignment, and this star is eclipsing that one. But to me, I feel like that's happening in every moment. If we really are connected, which we are, but if we are aware of how connected we are internally to every star and every system, then when everything is moving and shifting, we realize that we're like the constellation too, and we're centered in our pillar. We're the constellation too. Where are we
Oh, wow,
tuned?
okay.
And how are we working with what we have or where we are?
That's
It's pretty
amazing.
fascinating.
It
Yeah.
is. That's really crazy. And then like you don't really think about those things until someone like you brings it up. It's like, holy shit. I love how Hawaii is part of that ancient, it's kind of like the Pacific Atlantis. Mu, the continent of Mu. You heard of this? The continent must have sank once before, and I think Easter Island is part of that. And have you been to Easter Island? I can imagine what kind of energy is there. Holy buckets! I bet your head would fly off.
You know, I felt, and this is beyond this body, beyond this life, I felt very connected to all of the oceanic, like more than land masses. I feel connected. So like all islands,
Oh,
Polynesian islands, Easter Island,
yeah,
anything ocean wise. I feel like I've been there many, many times. Even to some extent, we look at Atlantis and the water, not that it's necessarily an island, but
yeah,
that water system, complete familiarity with, and the connections between.
yes. The
But Easter,
canals was
I
crazy.
and I feel like you'll see this, or maybe you'll text me when this happens or something. But like you'll see this where you live with the waters there, that those waters weren't always there. So that mastodon
That's
that's
true.
under the water, there's pyramids under the water where you are,
Yeah, Rock Lake.
that people are going to find out about, and they've been there for way longer than people are saying or think. Even
Yes.
because you hear little blurbs about it, and the
Yeah,
age
the
is
first
not
settlers
correct.
that came to Wisconsin asked the Indians with these stone teepees, or they look like teepees. They said they were the stone teepees of the ancient ones that they didn't know much about because this is before the Ice Age. And Wisconsin was one of the last glaciers to melt away. So makes you wonder. Yeah,
Yeah.
you're right. There's ancient cultures that've been again where there weren't lakes before, and then like Lake Titicaca. That's another place that's very has a lot of extraterrestrial ties too, because Lake Titicaca means stone of the jaguar in
Oh,
the Mayan.
yeah.
If you have an aerial shot, it looks like the lake looks like not shitting you, looks like a jaguar jumping on a rabbit.
Oh, interesting.
So again, how did the ancient people know what that lake looks like if they couldn't see it from above? Unless some of the visitors came down and said, your lake looks like a jaguar jumping on a rabbit. Oh, we're gonna call it Lake Titicaca.
Right.
And then they actually have ancient ruins on the bottom of that, and there's stories of UFOs coming in and out of that lake. So I don't know,
Yes.
very interesting.
Yeah, well, everything's going to be discovered shortly, and it's going to come in waves, right? Because,
Yes,
that's a
it has
lot of
to.
information that's
It's a
coming
slow
out.
drip of disclosure.
Right, right, and some of the drip isn't necessarily even accurate, but people are now too also learning more discerning ways of discovering if something is true, right, with their intuition.
Right.
But there's so much information, there's so
So
much
much, so much.
that it has to come in sections, in waves, because there's so much that to some extent is overwhelming. Like, well, what are people focusing on?
Yeah.
But like we even look at what you were just saying about the Great Lakes,
Hmm.
you're by the Lake Michigan, there's a
Yep.
Lake
Hmm.
Michigan Triangle. That
Yes. People
night,
have
that night,
disappeared, planes and boats. Yeah.
right. But that goes all the way to New York. That Niagara escarpment begins at like Dodge County area, and it comes up and around all the way to Niagara Falls into the Atlantic side of the ocean. Can you imagine what's under there?
No. Holy God.
I mean, you hardly almost never hear about that. Like when I was in New
No.
York by the Statue of Liberty, I was feeling, that the Statue of Liberty, the energy pinned down, all these things that were, for eons done and imprinted, etc. But I was also feeling what's under it. There's so much within, and it's not really under, but within the earth, within the waters there, not even talked about yet, barely touched, barely even spoken like an ounce of, and they're so vast. Look at that water system that's all connected to everything within.
I know. Again, we don't know much about the waters, lakes, deep oceans. Well, like 8% of the ocean. That's just that's nothing. And then
I
again, that
know.
fathers that just kind of scares you more than the fact that we know more about space than we do our own oceans. That's he says there's yeah. It makes you, I heard NASA was once studying the oceans and they just canceled that. after they probably found something down there, like, oh snap.
Yeah, because it's so much. And
Yeah.
it's really a reflection of the cosmos is the ocean, really, because like
Hmm.
when I feel the cosmos, I feel the water and the ether of the air of the cosmos. So there's one and the same in a way. You know,
Hmm.
it's just like what octave, where is it actually at? Or what system is it on? You know, or what is it doing? Like how is it functioning or what lives within it? But there's water. I mean, water is so massive within us. And even as we're purifying the water systems now, I look at all the codes that have been like, for example, Mexico trip, the codes within the pyramids and clearing out and releasing and calibrating through the
Mm.
codes as that's occurring through the water system, how that's
Mm.
transforming the massive you could say structures, massive water structures that are into space, like through the
Yeah.
earth, but into space, into what they don't want to study yet because they don't have any measuring tools yet. You know, it's like you could say the Schumann resonance, but it's off a chart that can measure it and will be that. It'll continue to accelerate because it's already shifted out of what's been known.
Yeah.
So, gonna have to make different tools if we're gonna measure these things, you know?
That is
So,
amazing.
yeah.
Hmm. My God. You know, it's just endless. It's so endless. It's so, and I wonder if when we do die, do we get all the answers all at once after just one thought of the question? It's like, boom, there it is. It's just like, because I feel like I think that's one reason why we're on this journey is kind of like we're trying to find out these answers and finding out what we have to prepare ourselves for if it comes to flesh and bones of some other thing telling us, hey, we've been here since the dawn of time and we've just been kind of watching you. And we have girls like you that are kind of showing the light of patterns and decoding stuff and ancient sites with ley lines and harnessing energy and transporting energy. I love how you're like a vessel for transporting the energy, and you come to the new spot, and you're like into the ground.
I don't know if it necessarily looks like that, but sure.
I know. I'm just.
I know.
I'm very animated.
I love it. It's great. It's real close, similar to
Yeah,
that. Very
yeah.
similar. Yeah.
Or you look like a superhero because you're all tatted up black and shit. You know what I'm saying? It's like you have all this. You have your own zen. You have such a calmness to you. I don't know if you
Thank
get
you.
that compliment. You know what I'm saying? That you always on like nothing really triggers you. I don't know. Just that you just like "Yeet." That's so dope. I love your
Thank you.
personality. And
Thank
no
you.
wonder everybody wants to be around you and wants to get to know you.
Appreciate that.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But yeah, we're coming to about an hour. So you want to tell my audience what if you have any upcoming podcasts or upcoming I know you do your own you have your own YouTube channel and you like to do your own talks and episodes. Is there upcoming or is there any brand new ones or yeah, let me know.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for asking. There's always new things that are coming out on the YouTube. A lot of times what I'm doing are, especially now because of the accelerations, are frequency videos that are multi-layered for all of the evolution we're experiencing. So it's for cellular function, physical body, energetic body, recalibrating the brain and, expanding the mind to open to telepathy, perception, clear communication, all the things, right? But we are also activating all of our dormancies so we can actually return to our innate knowingness, which is we have our own language. We all have our own soul language. So
Mhm.
one of the things that's coming up is I'm actually teaching awakening your ancient soul language because that actually there's taught parts about the information, right? But these things that can be activated, stimulated, and turned on within someone they already have. So I do a lot of these
So
things through the
cool.
frequencies, say like the channel, the frequencies of what it is actually helping people to say transform energy, transfigure, or hold, different frequencies that are here now and available, and to be able to do that. So there's a lot of those that people can access there on the YouTube, the website. They can actually download like 1 hour ones also.
Oh, cool.
There is actually a few people I met in New York recently that I have inquired to interview that are really
Oh,
fascinating, and that are working with some really unique things. So that will
cool.
be upcoming as well. I like to have, interesting, unique guests. I don't have a lot of podcasts, but I always make sure that it's something that's very unique and interesting that a lot of people don't know about, or that is a completely different perspective that hasn't necessarily been looked at yet,
Yeah.
or to some extent. Um, so there's that on the website and on the YouTube. There's also the upcoming events where there's very specific sound activations for each one. So there's Conscious Life Expo is in Los Angeles.
Cool.
There's New Life. Let's see, make sure they're very similar names. I have to make sure I say it right. New Life Expo is in Palm Beach, Florida, in March, and then there's New Living Expo, which is almost the same as the one in Florida, but it's actually completely non-related, and that's in San Rafael, California, in April. There's some other things going on as well, but each one of those unique events gives people the opportunity to come and receive a group sound activation,
Cool.
and also other presenters. There's obviously a lot of other people that are at the show. I'll have all tools. I'll have books there that I've written, with codes that are activating. Yeah, all kinds of things, hats, clothing,
Oh,
art,
good for you.
prints, things like
Yeah.
that.
That's
So,
awesome.
yeah, a nicer way to meet people in person, which I think is important too. Is if they
Yes.
want to meet in person, or they want, experience the art and take some art home or the books, then they can actually connect physically, which I think a lot of that more and more is happening now through these accelerations. We're physically coming together. We've all been different places all over the earth, for how long?
Yeah.
So now we're finally able to really connect and immerse, expand with the energy, experience convergence, which creates emergence, where there's a whole new layer of consciousness that emerges when we come together because we think of things differently, right? We're like, oh, I never thought of that. Or, somebody's energy will shift, just innately by them being present. So you have all these different expansive energies in the room
Hmm.
together. That's shifting not just the land, of course, but the perspectives of everyone by coming together. So that's really exciting.
Yeah, it's beautiful actually. So that's so
Yeah.
cool. Again, I was very drawn to you and your energy, and just wanted to get to know you. And I just love having my podcast be your podium and just to promote your stuff. And because I think you're very likable, you're very interesting, and you have again, you travel the world, so it's like it's the one thing that just sit at home and talk all this shit. You actually go and take energy off the ground and take it somewhere else. Yeah, I'm like that is awesome. No, I
Yeah.
it's a pleasure having you on, and I can't wait for future episodes with you if that's cool.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
always a joy. And I also, just as a side note, I was really excited to connect with you right after Christmas because
Hmm.
Wisconsin is like my home. So
Oh,
my home away from home, so to speak, where I arrived
oh,
here on the planet.
yeah.
So I have a
That's
special.
I'm so happy that you were born and raised in Wisconsin. 'Cause
Yeah.
I truly love Wisconsin too. I have 1848 tattooed on my stomach.
Do you?
I have Madison tattooed on me.
That's amazing.
Yeah, I love Madison in Wisconsin. So,
I love it. Like,
well,
is
get
it
your
one of
ass
the,
back to Madison so we can meet face to face.
yeah,
Let's go
well,
get
you guys
tattooed
need to,
together.
yeah, that would be amazing. Oh my God. That would be
We'll
really
do a
funny.
tattoo date.
Oh my gosh. Yeah, I want to ask you, since you're there, can you get on some people to coordinate and create some events? I'd love to come
Oh
there.
yeah, I could. Actually, we do.
Yeah.
Actually, I do that with other local. UFO enthusiasts and spiritual people and ghosts and stuff
Good.
like that. We have little get-togethers at bars, and we kind of like rent out a room. So we have people come in that are new, and yeah, we have people do speeches. I've done my first speech about the connection
Oh,
between ancient astronauts and the cargo cults, and that was very. It was nerve-wracking, but I did it. I was told I did a great job, and I was the loudest speaking one of all the people that were talking. Because
that's
I'm a,
awesome.
I'm an MC too. I've done my music career too, so I know how to talk to a crowd. But yeah, I was a little bit out of my element because I'm not really into it. It just brought me back to high school shit. Like I'm like presenting with like slideshow, and it was interesting. It was really fun. I'm so glad I got really good feedback, so I'd like to do it again. But no, I could talk to my people and we can like have you come and do some demonstrations and sell your books and yeah, and other merchandise, and that'd
Yeah,
be really cool.
it's an amazing place too that people I feel like need to experience because it is one of the top, and this is a not known, but you and I discussed this on the first show I was on with you, but it's what three of the locations in Wisconsin are in the top three of UFO locations.
Yes.
And people don't know that because
No.
they're looking at like Roswell and stuff. And yeah,
Yeah.
there's activity everywhere. There is if you pay attention.
Hmm.
But that
That
place
says a lot.
is huge for that.
Huge.
I
Yes.
mean, I where
Well,
I lived was constant, constant.
yes. Elmwood, Belleville, and Dundee are
Yes.
the two or three cities. And the fact that they have yearly UFO parades decorating their cars like flying saucers. And then like Elmwood's the longest running one. It's been around since the 1940s. And like George
Mhm.
Wheeler, who's a sheriff there, they really brought the other well, there's just tons of sightings. I love Elmwood because there's plaques of UFO plaques of sightings and landings all around the town. I guess they have like a tour bus that takes people around showing where all these sites are. Very interesting. And then I heard too, Elmwood back in the 80s, we're going to spend $50 million on a UFO landing pad. Something like out of like like out of that movie uh third time what the fuck is it called? Spielberg movie. Aliens in the 80s. Fuck. Or 70s. Forgot what it's called.
That's
It's gonna shoot me.
okay.
But anyways,
Tell me
yeah.
later.
There's a scene in it where they made a giant spaceport for aliens and they were using lights and music to attract them and talk to them because music is kind of like the galaxy way of talking, I think. You know what I'm saying? I think and lights too, and symbols and sign language.
All of it, yeah,
Yeah.
frequency.
Mhm.
The light is a symbology, and that's information within the codes, which looks like language.
Dun, 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 dun. You
Yeah,
know?
yeah, and it's speaking. It's speaking in its own way. Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure.
So cool. Well, hey,
Awesome.
I'm gonna wrap it up, and that was so dope. But can you stay with me for 2 more minutes?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Thank you.